Coronation Street actress Beth Nixon has opened up about the layered personality of her character, Megan Walsh, and what she believes could eventually destroy her. Megan arrived on the cobbles late last year as Will Driscoll's athletics coach. To Will's relatives, she appears to be a caring and enthusiastic professional who is dedicated to supporting young people in achieving their ambitions. However, to Will himself, Megan is much more than a coach. She is his secret partner and is now expecting his child. The teenager remains completely unaware that he is being groomed and manipulated, instead feeling excited by the secrecy of his romance with an older woman. Everything began to shift when Sam Blakeman grew increasingly uneasy about Megan's closeness with Will. She wasted no time confronting Sam, attempting to intimidate him by suggesting that nobody would take his accusations seriously. This confrontation hinted that her carefully controlled situation might be starting to fall apart, even if Megan refused to acknowledge it. According to Beth Nixon, Megan genuinely does not currently recognize the seriousness of her actions. Beth explained that while the thought of imprisonment frightens Megan, her overconfidence would ultimately be her undoing. Megan firmly believes she is clever enough to outsmart and control everyone around her. Although she refuses to admit wrongdoing, that does not mean she is entirely free from inner conflict. Beth described Megan as someone who prioritizes her own desires above everything else, labeling her a narcissist. She is capable of feeling regret and compassion, but quickly suppresses those emotions because they interfere with what she wants. For Megan, her personal needs will always outweigh anyone else's well-being. In the latest chapter of the storyline, she continued pressuring Sam to stay silent about her relationship with Will. Desperate to expose the truth, Sam secretly installed a recording device inside the flat. Megan shares with Leanne Battersby, hoping to gather clear evidence. After getting his phone back from his father, Sam reviewed the footage, only to discover a deliberately staged scene between Megan and Will. In the clip, Megan appeared to encourage Will to move past what she described as a minor crush. It quickly became obvious that Megan had anticipated Sam's scheme. When Sam returned to retrieve the hidden camera, he was shocked to discover it had vanished. Megan had already found and taken the device. She cruelly mocked Sam's attempt to reveal her behavior and went on to accuse him of being a pervert for secretly filming her and Leanne. Trying to defend himself, Sam fired back by calling Megan the real pervert, but she refused to be intimidated. Instead, she threatened that his actions could land him on the sex offenders register at just 14 years old. Terrified and confused by her manipulative claims, Sam began to doubt himself and worry about the consequences. Later, sitting alone in Victoria Garden, he struggled to cope with the fear she had planted in his mind. Nick Tilsley approached his son, concerned about his distress and wanting to support him. However, Sam lashed out, dismissing his father as clueless and insisting that nobody could possibly fix the situation. A major Coronation Street figure is left fighting with a devastating injury, while Kit is left completely shaken by a shocking discovery. Weatherfield's latest menace, Mal Roper, takes his disturbing fixation on Bernie Winter to a chilling new level by slicing her head out of a treasured wedding photograph. With so many villains currently roaming the cobbles, property prices on the street must surely be plummeting. After all, who would willingly settle in a neighborhood overflowing with murderers, manipulators, fraudsters, abusers, and Carl Webster? The only type of criminal missing from the area's long list of troublemakers was a stalker, at least until Mal appeared. Mal first encountered Bernie at a local hotel where she was drowning her sorrows in alcohol while struggling to cope with the devastating loss of her friend and son-in-law, Billy Mayhew, who died in the Corriedale crash. Although Bernie did not technically betray her devoted husband Dev Alahan, she ended up taking drugs with Mal and later woke up suffering from an overwhelming hangover. Consumed by regret and embarrassment, Bernie became determined to repair her marriage and erase the memory of that reckless night. However, She was not the only resident connected to Weatherfield's newest threat. Mal is married to Alice, the mysterious pen pal Roy Cropper had been corresponding with, and their letters had begun to take on a romantic tone. Despite learning of his wife's emotional involvement, Mal appears strangely unfazed. He has even remained in Weatherfield under the guise of working as an electrician, carrying out repairs in Roy's flat. Viewers have found his calm reaction suspicious, and understandably so. Why would he willingly accept employment from the man involved in his wife's supposed affair, unless Alice never existed in the first place? It remains a compelling theory. Whatever the truth may be, Mal seems to have only one real reason for sticking around: Bernie. Even though he assured Bernie that he would leave once his job at Roy's flat was complete, Mal has shown little interest in departing. Instead, he has attempted to manufacture a bond by claiming they share an enthusiasm for crystals, hoping to lure her into spending private time with him at his apartment. This leaves Bernie trapped in an uncomfortable and potentially dangerous position that threatens her marriage. She must find a way to reject Mal without provoking him into revealing the shameful details of their drug-fueled encounter to Dev. Balancing this situation proves increasingly difficult, and in Monday's February 23rd episode, Mal's relentless behavior pushes Bernie beyond her limit, figuratively costing her her head. With Dev away enjoying time with Asha, Mal chooses his moment carefully. After Roy heads out to the bank, Mal locks the cafe doors and confesses intense feelings for Bernie. Appalled and frightened, Bernie firmly rejects him. Mal reacts badly to the rejection, and his demeanor quickly darkens, leaving Bernie visibly shaken and fearful about what he might do next. Events then take a disturbing turn reminiscent of Fatal Attraction, when Bernie later realizes that someone has deliberately cut her face out of her wedding photographs. The situation escalates even further when Kit Green uncovers alarming information about Mal. Lisa Swain hands Kit a report explaining that a man has been discovered in the street with a serious head injury. As Kit scans the document, he is stunned to recognize the name. In subsequent scenes, Kit rushes to the hospital, where a doctor informs him that Mal is in critical condition. 3 fresh Coronation Street spoilers as a tragic death storyline begins. Coronation Street has unveiled a new batch of preview clips for next week's installments, giving viewers an early glimpse at an emotional plot centered on Steve McDonald. Steve is set to take the spotlight in powerful scenes as he is soon confronted with the devastating loss of his father, Jim. Although the tragic update about Jim hasn't reached Steve yet, his father's name will start cropping up again in the coming episodes, laying the groundwork for what lies ahead. In Monday's show, Steve feels deeply disappointed when he discovers that Jim has dragged him into serious financial difficulty. The fallout could strain their already fragile relationship even further, cruelly just before Jim's death. Here's a closer look at that storyline, along with 2 more teasers from next week. One Monday, 23rd of February, After uncovering that Jim has falsified his signature on official documents, illegally listing him as a guarantor, Steve opens up to Cassie Plummer about his frustration. As a result of the deception, Steve now finds himself liable for £1,800 in unpaid rent. Cassie tries to come up with possible solutions, but the situation becomes more worrying when Steve admits that Jim's intimidating landlord has his home address. Could trouble be heading straight for his door? These developments mark only the start of Steve's major new arc, with far more painful news looming on the horizon. Wednesday, 25th of February, over at Audrey's salon, Shona Platt enjoys a relaxing beauty treatment while speaking lovingly about how attentive David has been with their newborn daughter Harper. Maria Connor also comments on how much Shona has positively influenced David's life. However, newcomer Jodie Ramsey quietly bristles as she listens to the glowing praise for Shona's marriage. When her eyes settle on her sister's wedding ring, it becomes clear she may be forming a calculated plan. Thursday, 26th of February. Meanwhile, at the police station, Lisa Swain adjusts to life behind a desk while handling administrative duties. She passes a file to Kit Green detailing an incident involving a man discovered unconscious in the street with a serious head wound. Initially, the case appears straightforward, but when Kit reads the victim's name, Bernie's obsessive admirer, Mal Roper, his expression shifts dramatically, signaling that this is far from routine. Coronation Street airs on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available for streaming on ITVX.